Hey, y'all, welcome back to episode 84 of the Late Night Vision Show. This is the one and only podcast dedicated to all things night vision, thermal imaging. If it's got anything to do with night hunting, we're going to talk about it on this show. I am Jason, owner of Outdoor Legacy, one of your co-hosts, and my partner in crime, my other co-host here is Hans from the Hans East Texas YouTube channel. What's going on tonight, buddy?
Oh, man, not much. You and I had plans to go hunt with each other this week in a couple days, and looks like it's going to rain and be cold. And Princess does not like to get wet, so he canceled
I want everyone to be very clear.
Oh, here we go.
Who canceled the hunt?
I guess ultimately it was my decision, so maybe I'm the princess that didn't want to get wet.
I guess ultimately,
yeah.
I had us a hunt lined up.
You said and that's true. You left it up to me, but man, you were hard selling the fact that you did not want to go out, and I can't blame you.
This is bull. I had us 1,200 acres lined up, hogs, coyotes, the full meal deal. I mean, we were ready to roll. And no, Han's not going to do it. No, honestly,
he kept sending me pictures of what the weather's going to be looking like. Hey, look at these rain clouds.
Yeah, well, it really wasn't just the rain that scared me. It was the rain all day, evening, then turn off. Cold with 20-mile-an-hour north winds, and I'm just thinking, it sounded like a pretty bad night for thermal imaging anyway.
Yeah, if I'm going to be hunting in the cold and wet, I can just do that up here in Ben Wheeler and not have to drive all the way to Nacogdoches to do it. So,
it didn't seem like a good night for hunting. And if you're going to come all the way down here, we might as well try to kill something at least.
We do not have great luck when we get together and hunt. We've done it many times, and the weather is always crappy and all that, but hey,
it's never good.
Keeping the streak alive.
We'll reschedule.
Yeah, but no, everything's going good, man. I've been, we need to talk about it at some point. We get a lot of people ask about game cameras, and I'm taking a lot of. I've got game cameras that I use right now. They're kind of petering out on me. I bought another. You don't even know this. I just bought another one. I've got some buddies that use Spy Point and like them. I've got buddies that use Moultrie, Spartan, but I'm out setting up cameras, getting ready for some hunts coming up soon. But man,
we can talk about it. I'm running more cell cameras now as well, and I'm going to tell you something. And we don't have to get in this topic, but when they work, they're awesome, and when they don't work, I'd sell them to you for a penny.
That's how. That's where I'm at right now.
They are a pain when there's a problem.
I'm setting up and converting mine all over to solar panels and rechargeable batteries and doing all that because I'm tired of buying lithium batteries, and it is just I'm ready to. Well, at this point, I'd pay money to see pictures of a hog, but I'm not getting any pictures. What am I going to do? So. Just out buying stuff, spending that Christmas money.
Heaven forbid you might have to go sit out there and look for them.
No. You know how I hunt.
Do that. I know how you hunt.
Well, Jason, I know right now it's the middle of December. We've got Christmas coming up. We're both excited about that. We were on the pre-show plan. We were talking about our schedule. And honestly, y'all, we don't have it figured out yet. Knowing me, I'm going to make Jason put out a show over the holidays. He's going to try to talk me out of it, but I'm going to talk him into it. So I would expect something to come out and continue to come out over the holidays, but I don't know. We'll see.
It may not be anything, but Han's sticking his head in saying, episode 87 or something, but he's going to put a show out. I know we'll be doing it.
But with Christmas coming up, though, I was going to say in 2 weeks, we've got, I know there's a lot of people who have been asking about what to get their spouse for Christmas. And one thing that has been coming up a lot that I've been suggesting to buddies and buddies' spouses are the Sightmark rates. And I know we got a bunch of them coming in here pretty soon.
We do. We've got, and if anybody's listening to this, I want to be clear, we're fixing to talk about stuff. This is the middle of December 2019. So if you're listening to this in July of 2021, this information is outdated. But as of this week, we have a very large shipment of wraiths coming in. Several of them are pre-sold, but we've got a lot that aren't. I think we've got enough to probably last us through Christmas, maybe, depending on what the rush is like. we've got a lot of those. I'm going to tell you, I'm really pleased. We have more inventory right now in the middle of December than we've had in any December ever since I've been running this business. And I'll tell you, it's not just because things aren't selling. I mean, there's just seemed to be a better supply. The demand is still very high, but don't
let him fool you, folks. He says he's happy, but he's over there sweating bullets right now.
Yeah, that's right. No, we've got a lot of race. We've got the Axions are coming back into stock. We were fixing to start filling a lot of orders on those. We've got going to have some extras left over. We've got Thermions. We've got the XP models. We've got a few trails, some LRFs. We've got Fleer thermosites, all of them in stock. I mean, we really do have a lot of inventory for December, so it's really good. I mean, it's moving, it's turning over, but we're getting a lot of shipments. So anyway, I'm very, very pleased about it. But yeah, if somebody is looking for a Christmas gift and you want to get your wife something, I know we had our wives on for Thanksgiving. I think every lady out there would love to have a Sightmark Wraith.
Yeah.
Maybe thermal if she likes the higher end stuff.
Yeah.
I think she'd probably like thermal. So, here's the thing. If she doesn't use it, then you could. I mean, don't let it go to waste.
Well, I got a buddy here in town. He said, grab me 2 of those Wraiths when you get them in because I'm giving both of them away for Christmas. And so we're getting 2. I got right over my left shoulder, I've got a Wraith that I had one a long time ago when we were testing and review, and I finally got one again. So getting to use it and testing out the new sniper hog lights. And that's something we haven't talked about we need to talk about as well.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
We got to talk. We got to review them. Well,
also,
I
was going to say, and I may be step on your toes, but also we have some news about the trails that we have not discussed, the trail models of Pulsars.
Yeah, that's something that we've kind of known this was going to happen for a long time, and we knew it. I mean, it was the general discussion months ago, but wasn't ever really like hard and fast. And so as the time has come, it's kind of one of those things when, you know what the news is going to be, but you just don't ask because you just don't want to hear the bad news. And it is official though. The Pulsar trails, that family will be discontinued the end of 2019, so just a couple weeks. Right. To be clear, the Pulsar Trail Laser Rangefinder LRF models will stay into 2020. Those are going to continue to be active models. We do not expect to see a Thermion laser rangefinder coming anytime soon. And I always like to say these things and have egg on my face when SHOT Show comes around. But no, that's the official word from Pulsar. LRFs are here to stay, but the regular model trails are gone. As far as I know, the XP50s are pretty much already gone. The XP38s were discontinued several months ago. They're long gone. There's still a few floating around out there, but that's mostly old inventory. XP50s, haven't seen any of them in a while. We're still getting limited number of XQ38s and XQ50s, and we've been selling those things faster than we can get them. Just go ahead and bring this up because I've had a lot of people ask. They say, what about our warranty? Mm-hmm. Warranty doesn't change. I mean, just because a model is getting replaced, it has no effect on your warranty. If you buy one, and when I say they're discontinued in December, that doesn't mean that, a couple may not show up in January sometime if they've got some parts laying around and make a few more. We're not expecting that. But if they do and you buy one, whenever it is, it doesn't matter if it's a dealer's old inventory, you still have a full warranty on that. As long as you buy it brand new from an authorized dealer, you get the full 3 years. So if you send that scope in 3 years from now and the trails are long gone and they don't have parts and they can't repair it, they're going to upgrade you to a similar like kind model or a more expensive model. So don't worry about it. In that regard. This sounds like a sales pitch, but it's not because I can't get enough. I mean, I talked to my rep and I said, send me every single Pulsar trail you can get me. And he said, well, I'm not going to get you many more. So anyway, we got a few more trickling in, but they are great units. People are still jumping all over them. And part of that is because these Thermions, there's just the XM38, that's going to be the replacement as the Thermions. is their higher magnification. And we've hashed this out on the show. I don't want to drag it all out again, but they start at 4 power. And until we see some lower magnification options in those, $3,000 price range, 3 to 4, it's gonna be tight in there. I don't know what we're gonna do because a lot of people are looking for 2 to 3 power in that price range.
Maybe we'll get a Christmas present from Pulsar, and they'll deliver some good news, a late Christmas present at SHOT Show on that. But
I hope so.
The other concern about the trails going away, I think, with some people concerned was the battery situation. But what they've actually came out with improved batteries that fit the trails, and those are in stock right now that get double the run time that the previous models of batteries. So those are taken care of, and there's no concern over the battery situation moving forward.
And remember, we still have the laser rangefinder models of the trail. So it's the same scope, just has a laser rangefinder permanently attached to the side. They're still making those. The Helions take the same batteries. They're still around. So I don't see anything to be concerned about right now.
On this week on the Hansi's Texas YouTube channel, I'm going to be reviewing my favorite thermal monocular 2019. I'm not going to say it here. You got to check out the Hansi TX YouTube channel later on this week. But I had a buddy of mine, Patrick, that I hunt with quite often, and he's been looking at thermal monoculars. And you and I, we've talked about those many times, especially with the release of the Axion, the now 4 Axion models. So you've got 4 Axion models. You've got 4 Helion models to choose from, and that's just in the Pulsar line. And he was looking at getting an Axion model. We were together last week, and he said, "You know what? What do you think about just buying another scope, a backup scope, and using that as a handheld? And basically, what it gives you is a handheld when you're hunting alone, and if a buddy comes along, you have an extra thermal scope that you can let them use." And that triggered something, because that question comes up all the time. I've gotten that question many times. But I want to pose that to you, because you probably hear it more than anybody. What do you say to the person that they're considering that option? What are the ways in weighing out the differences, the implications of purchasing a scope over a thermal monocular? And what do you think the best choices are if somebody was looking for an alternative for a handheld? Does that make sense? Does that make sense for the average buyer?
I have 2 words. Normally I screw these up because I have more words than I say, but it depends.
That's 3 words in Texas.
It's true. It depends. It does depend. I mean, this is a big can of worms. And yes, I spoke with 2, maybe 3 guys today on the phone who are contemplating that question. I mean, it's like, hey, I already own a scope. I need a handheld, and should I just buy another scope? Should I buy, and I think this is a big topic. It's a big question, and it really does depend. It depends on what your budget is. How much money do you want to spend on this monocular? What kind of image quality are you looking for? Are you looking to do this as cheaply as possible? But, when I say that, but still getting a quality optic. But are you looking to do this for a couple $1,000 or less? Or are you looking for a $3,500 monocular? So I think there's a couple different ways you can go. And I would say the number one thing that I tell people is this, before we even have the discussion, is, are you taking anyone else hunting that you're going to put this and mount it and put it on a rifle? Is that even a possibility? Because if you just hunt by yourself all the time, and, generally maybe all your buddies, if you go with them, they've got scopes. If you're not taking anybody to use that optic and it's really just for you, then I would buy a thermal handheld. I would buy the dedicated handheld and use that device for what it's made for. So I think, and again, let me flesh that out a little bit more. Then if you go, well, no, sometimes I may carry my brother-in-law, or I may carry my buddy and he can't afford a scope, or he's not going to, whatever. I'm going to take my kids with me. Then, I think there's some valid reasons to consider a scope.
It seems hog hunting, night vision hog hunting, thermal hog hunting, it's really turned out to be a very social type of hunting. You know, you get your buddies together. A lot of times there's 2, 3, 4 of you at times. And, you know, if you're taking your buddy along and you've got a thermal scope, and they're using a night vision scope or even a spotlight or whatever, you know, they're not having any fun at all, compared to you with a thermal scope. Either that or you're sharing it, or, you know, letting him use it, and then, you know, you don't have a gun. But there definitely is a disadvantage to the person that is with you if they don't have something as equally effective as a thermal scope. So I can kind of tell and see that side of it with people that take people out from time to time.
Yeah, and I would say this. I think to open the discussion, we've got to decide what is the advantage of a scope versus what is the advantage of a dedicated handheld, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of both. And I'm going to hash this out real quick, and if you think of something I missed, go ahead. I would say advantages of a handheld to be used as a handheld is that, number one, it was designed for that. Ergonomics. It's got a hand strap on it. It is made to fit the palm of your hand. The buttons are in a position that are made for your fingers to curl around there and press all of them. So again, it is designed for that. They're normally smaller. They're normally lighter weight. They are generally a little bit cheaper than a comparable scope. I mean, we maybe argue on that a little bit, but generally they're going to be the same price or a couple $100 less. I think those, are the benefits. That's what it's designed to do.
Right.
I think the disadvantages are going to be that it's just a dedicated, handheld. You can't strap that thing to your rifle and do anything with it. I mean, do you see before we skip to the scopes, do you see anything I missed there on advantage or disadvantage?
No, I think you're right. Is the disadvantages are, and I think that this, and we don't have time for it on this show. This opens up the discussion moving forward, and something we haven't talked about, and that's clip-ons. There's a lot of people that ask about clip-ons.
Oh man, that's a whole nother topic.
I know that's a whole nother, but I don't want to bring that up. But
sure.
Yeah, you're right. The disadvantages of the thermal monocular are the fact that you can't shoot. You can't use it to shoot. Sure. It's not a rifle scope. It's only for spotting and scanning. With the advantages of it, did you mention improved picture quality based on some of the? Well, we hadn't got to the scopes. Let's talk about the scopes. Then we'll talk
okay. So you go ahead. Tell me what you think the advantages and disadvantages of a scope would be.
The advantages and the advantages of a scope are going to be that you can use it as a tool to shoot, and whoever you take out can have just as much fun as you do. So that's definitely an advantage. I think that the disadvantage is a little bit bigger, usually a little bit heavier. It's not ergonomically designed to fit your hand holding it in your grasp. It's used to being on a rifle where you can touch it. And you've mentioned this before in the past, but if you leave the mount on, it makes it's even more, makes it even more clumsy. If you're leaving the mount on, and most people are going to leave the mount on. They're not going to want to take it on and off.
You're talking about 3 to 6 ounces on the bottom of it. Right. It's metal. They're I don't say sharp edges, but you know what I mean. It's not easy on the hands. I mean, if that's what you were using it for every single night.
Yeah. But no, other than that, I don't see any other disadvantages other than that, unless I missed something.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the general thing. I think bigger, bulkier, not ergonomic, heavier, all those things. I mean, I would say it's just you can do it, you can make it work.
Yeah.
But it's not the way that thing was designed. And I would also say that there are a lot of ways to wear monoculars around your neck or slide them quickly into bags, pockets, coats, that sort of thing. If you get something big like a Pulsar trail, that's not something that you're going to wear around your neck. I mean, I can't imagine. And you're not going to slip that in your coat pocket unless you're wearing a Santa coat.
Yeah.
And what do you do with it? It's now again, There's smaller things like the RXQ30V and the PTS233 from Pulsar and FLIR. Those are different class, but they're much more monocular like.
What do you think? And you mentioned the scopes. Let me ask you, what do you think a person that calls up and let's say that they have a Pulsar Trail or Pulsar Thermion XM or XQ model. So they've spent, somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000 for their scope. They say, I love my scope. I want either a backup scope or a thermal monocular, but I don't want to spend as much money as I spent on my main rifle scope. So what are the logical choices for somebody that might want to buy a backup scope but not spend the money that they spent on their everyday scope?
Well, I think it's, and again, we're turning this into a Pulsar show, but there are the people right now who have 8 thermal monoculars. Who else does? 8 current model thermal monoculars. I mean, FLIR's got a bunch of old monoculars, the old Scout series. So no, I mean, I think we've got to be talking about Pulsar here. If we're talking about dedicated monoculars, what would I tell them? I think it comes down to, really, what is your budget? And if you're saying, well, I want to spend less than my scope, that's going to probably put you down in the Axion line. So now you're going to be between the Axions. And if we can, say the option of a scope, it's going to put you in the Pulsar Core RXQ30V for $1,900.
Okay, I'm gonna have to stop you. You're not listening to me.
I thought that's what you said. What would I point them towards?
Yeah, for rifle scope choices. So if they're looking,
I'm sorry.
I should have just let you go on and go, but no.
I'm confused now. Yeah, you got me.
I knew it. You don't listen to me at all.
No, I don't. You're kind of like my wife. Your mouth is moving.
We talk to each other so much.
Ask your question again.
All right. Well, maybe I didn't ask the question correctly. So, somebody that has a Trail or Thermion between the $3,000 $4,000 range, they want to buy a backup scope to use as a thermal monocular, but they don't want to spend Trail or Thermion money. What are the logical choices that would make sense for them to look at?
Folks, I hate to have a family tiff here in public, but wasn't I just talking about the Pulsar Core? Wasn't that one of the options?
Yeah, and that's why I had to stop you because you were getting way ahead of me on that.
Oh man, the Pulsar Core RXQ, that answers one question,
right.
And $1,899, and the other option is the FLIR Thermosight Pro PTS233. I want to pause here, okay, and I'm going to mention something that we're absolutely going to get asked about. And I'm going to head this off, and there's going to be a comment or an email or a phone call, and it's going to say, but you didn't mention the PRG or the AGM micros. And that is not, it's intentional, but it's nothing against those optics. I'm going to tell you why real quick. If this is inside baseball to you, just skip the next 45 seconds. But those optics do exist. Anything with PRG has been closed out. Those optics are being sold dirt cheap. I think they're good optics, but they are closeout items. The new AGM micros, the current pricing on them is no longer $2,500 and $2,900. The base model AGM micro is $2,995, so it's $3,000. So I know I keep getting emails and phone calls asking about those people thinking that they're this $2,200 to $2,500 options. That is the closeout PRG. PRG brand does not exist anymore. Those units, a few of those, are left out there being sold. So this is nothing against them. They just no longer, with the newer AGM brand scopes, don't fit this price range. Okay. Right. Hans and I have been talking. I think we're going to start doing some reviews on some of those optics very soon. There's been some changes. What's another show for another time. But so that puts us back. I think your only options in that $2,000-ish range are the PTS233 from FLIR or the Pulsar Core RXQ30V. Those would be my options. And I use and have used, I think Hans probably has too, both those optics as a handheld. And I think they work just fine for that, but they are so much better if you take the mount off the bottom. Right. They just fit in your hand better. They just feel better. You can slide them in and out of pockets and bags and things better. But I'm going to bring this up. I had this discussion today on the phone. If you take the mount off the bottom, now are you going to take the time when your buddy's going to go hunting with you tomorrow to put the mount back on it, put it on a rifle, and go out and spend the time to zero it, knowing he's going to hunt with you for 2 hours? You're going to take it back off. You're going to take the mount back off, put it back in your bag, and you'd have to do that all again next week if he comes back. And you're not. Yeah. So what you're probably going to do is you're going to leave the mount on the bottom of it, and it's not going to be, I mean, I guess it's like this. How much do you like your buddies? I mean, well, is this, and I don't mean that bad, but it really, I'm trying to be selfish about this, but it's like, how often are you going to use this? I mean, the guy today that I talked to said, man, I've got son-in-laws and, they may be hunting with me any given weekend. Well, that's reasonable. He's going to probably have somebody with him, a lot of the time. And hey, it makes sense for him to maybe buy a scope. But if this is something that sounds good in theory once in a blue moon, I think I'd go back to the handheld. But
well, you say how much you like your buddy. I've got a friend that I do like a lot that at the last minute said he was going to go hunt with us. And I did slap a scope on a rifle, and it may or may not have been sighted in and let him hunt with it. And proceeded not to tell him that it wasn't exactly sighted in until after the hunt.
It was bore sighted.
I don't even know. Well, let's just say this. If there was a hog 15 yards away and he aimed for the side of it, he probably would have hit it. But
you're a terrible friend.
I think he was a little bit butthurt over that for a little while. But Blake, if you're out there, I'm sorry, bud. It wasn't my idea. It wasn't a gag, but it was a last minute, last second.
That is hilarious.
But yes, I do. It is time consuming to, check your zero, put it on a rifle, sight it in. But, like I said, the way that this conversation got started with a buddy of mine that is looking to purchase, very seriously considering the Axion, but he has family members. He's got kids that will eventually grow up and want to hunt with dad. And, it does make a lot of sense and what he's looking at specifically is the Pulsar core, which is, Jason, as you know, a lot of people are ordering the cores from you just to use as backup scopes and monoculars.
Sure.
But that's his sole purpose of, hey, doesn't it make more sense? And that was this question. Doesn't it make sense to buy a backup scope? So if you need to, you've got 2 scopes instead of just 1 scope and a thermal monocular. My answer to him, and hopefully this shed more light on it, but, by going to something like that, I think really if you're using a trail or a thermion and you purchase a core, basically when you're hunting by yourself and you're using the core as a scanner or monocular, you're giving up quite a, I don't want to say quite a bit, but you're giving up some thermal imaging quality comparatively between the 2 models.
Hang on. I just want to be clear. You're saying, but between a core
and a
233 and like a trail or a PTS 536 or something.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
You're giving up a little bit of picture imaging quality and detection range and all that.
You are, for sure.
There's no doubt about it. And especially for you and I, we're big fans of the Helions. The Helions get as good a picture image as our rifle scope, so we're kind of spoiled.
Close.
Close to it, but we're very spoiled in that regard. But you do give up some of that quality of when you're out there scanning and using it. But it's hard to argue against that justification. And when people come up and when people ask me if they call in for advice, it's hard to say, no, you need to get a thermal monocular because it does make a lot of sense to have a backup scope. And if I were in their same situation, I would be seriously considering the same route.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that it's again, that's why I say it depends. And a lot of times I talk to people and, maybe we go down this road and I point blank say, how often is somebody going to go with you? How often are you going to use it? Because there are inconveniences, and anyone who says that it is 100% just as convenient to use any scope as it is a dedicated thermal handheld as a handheld hasn't used a dedicated handheld. It is more convenient to have a strap that I can put my palm straight out and I can hold that thing, and let go, and it's still on my hand, and I can hang it around my neck if I want to. Again, I can slip it in my pocket. The buttons are all right there. That there is a lot of convenience and ease of use. So if you, and this is what sometimes these guys say, they think about, man, if I could bring a buddy or my nephew or whatever, and then we kind of talk it out, and they go, you know what? I've been hunting for 2 years, and I hadn't had anybody go with me twice.
Well,
it's like, forget it. Just sell me the handheld. This is for me, not for them.
And this may help understand the convenience of using a thermal monocular, even the Helion, which is bigger than the Axion. So imagine this, all of you hog hunters, coyote hunters, if you use a scanner when you're coyote hunting, but you see hogs 200 yards away. So you grab your monocular, you grab your rifle, you grab your tripod, and you start walking. And you're walking up. As you're walking closer, you're using that handheld monocular. When you get to about 50 yards away or wherever your shooting position, you now have to set up the tripod, put the rifle on the tripod, and you've got to find a place, and this is all done in the dark, quietly. You've got to find a place to stick that monocular. So the good thing about the dedicated thermal monoculars, if you got some pants with some side pockets, you slip it in there real quiet, nice and easy, in your jacket pocket. If you're using a dedicated scope, I don't know where you stick that thing. No. You know what I'm saying? Well, and you're having to do it quietly on a stalk, and you've got to do it, without making a bunch of racket.
Well, one night when we were coyote hunting, we might have joked about this on the show. You and I were together, and I had my monocular, and it was one of those, we're on tripods, and we're calling, and it's, hey, there's a coyote right there. And it's one of those panic. I'm looking through my monocular. He snuck up on us. I cannot get my thermal monocular, as small as it was, in a pocket. I drop it. I mean, I'm just like, what are my options? I drop a $3,500 monocular on the ground. Now, granted, I'm short, so I didn't have far to fall, so it was okay. But it's like, what are you going to do? If you're holding a big scope, there's no chance of you sticking that thing somewhere. So I think you've just got to think it out for your situation. And again, I think it goes back to, I think this is, in my opinion, you make the decision for yourself. But number one, how often is someone else going to use that as a scope? If it is often, and it's going to be for your wife or your kids or your brother-in-law or whatever, your buddies, that's fine, man, do it. That's great. But if it's something that's only going to be once in a blue moon, and it sounds, really good on paper, but in reality, nobody wants to go out, stay up all night and hunt, then if it's just for you, you should probably go with the dedicated handheld.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It is 100%. If you hog hunt once a month, twice a month, every weekend, and you only got a buddy coming with you a couple times a year, it does not make sense. No. You are going to regret and hate life. But I mean, if you don't hunt that much and you got a buddy that's going to join you a few times a year, and you may hunt 4 or 5 times a year, it seems like a good choice.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. If you've got, let's say you do end up with a handheld, and let's say that your buddy does come with you. Well, I understand it's not great because you both can't shoot, but if you really do like him that much, worst case, y'all can trade off shooting. One guy's spotting, one guy's shooting. At least nobody's standing there in the dark and can't see their hand in front of their face. At least you can both be enjoying the moment, doing something, and seeing. So you're still better off. And I would say this, Hans and I really have no dog in this hunt, which way you choose. I don't make any more money on scopes than I do monoculars, or any more money on monoculars and scopes. So I don't want y'all to think this is some biased reason. Well, it really doesn't matter to us. I mean, it's whatever works best for your situation.
And that's why when people call and they say, hey, does this make sense? I'm like, well, yeah, it does make sense. That's a good option. It needs to be weighed and considered. And we talk through it. And that's, there are some positives and some negatives to both sides of the coin.
I want to give one more quick thing here, and I want to say this as we've been talking about these, entry level type optics, Axions, as well as the FLIR and the RXQ. I think this discussion, and I don't want to go way down this road because I think it changes big time if you say, I want a higher end monocular or something to use as a handheld, and I want to spend $3,000 plus on it. Well, at that point, my answer is you better have a darn good reason before you buy a Pulsar Trail, a Thermion, a FLIR PTS 536, something of that size. If you're going to use that as a monocular, you better be using it a lot as a scope because they're big. I mean, compared to a Helion or an Axion or an RXQ. So if you're going to spend that much money and you want a really good handheld unit, I would say you probably need to spend the money on the handheld, not on a scope, unless you really know you're going to use it a whole lot, because that is much more inconvenient than just using something like a small scope. Just my 2 cents.
Another buddy of mine going out, he's using a Trigicon as a spotting scope, and he's using a Pulsar Trail as his main shooting scope. Yeah. I think
he had that backwards.
I think somebody loaned him the Trigicon, so he was just using that as a spotting scope. But I've seen people, you and I both know somebody, and I'm not going to name any names, that walks around with a Trigicon on a tethered necklace around his neck as a spotting scope. So it has been done.
$8,000 around your neck.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot. I think this is a good discussion. This is a lot of people ask, but I think we could go on for a long time, because we can talk about people that own a night vision scope but may look to get a thermal monocular as a spotting scope. We get a lot of people that do that, have those different types of optics.
I've got people that have a thermal and ask about getting a night vision as a handheld. That's a no, but that's another topic too.
Yeah,
that's another topic.
But you're right. What if you're looking at something like a 536 or something of higher quality? We definitely need to take a look at it. But hey,
this is the way I would summarize it, and this is a shameless plug. If you're stuck and you don't know what to do, give us a call. I mean, seriously, let us walk you through all the different monocular options that are in your price range, the scope options, the size, the weight. We can talk about all that and throw it out to you, and we can help you make that decision. At the end of the day, it's your money. It's going to be up to you, but we can definitely mention some things that maybe you hadn't thought about for your specific situation, magnifications, different features if you want recording, not whatever. So feel free to call us. Again, shameless plug. You can find us at outdoorlegacygear.com. You can call Hans and I at 877-350-1818. That is the number for Outdoor Legacy, and we will be glad to walk you through any of this. If you're looking for any kind of thermal, night vision, anything like that, we're always here and glad to help.
Yeah. So you can find the Late Night Vision Show. Hey, y'all, we do have a website. We have a beautiful website, and I want to talk about it, the latenightvision.show.com. You can find all of our past episodes right there. At some point, we're going to do a blog. Hey, we've got a little bit of time. I want to recognize, first of all, my co-host here, who is one of the hardest working guys in the business. This man wakes up and gets on the phone and does not stop taking phone calls till 6 o'clock at night. I talk to him throughout the day very shortly, but I know tonight after we get done recording this podcast, he's going to go to his computer and start answering customer emails. And these past 2 months have been very, very busy, record-breaking months, and that is a lot of work for this man right here, Jason Robertson. I help out. I don't help out near enough or as much, but I do get a chance to take a few phone calls. Also, don't get a big head, but I don't know. We have never talked about. I don't think we've ever talked about her, but many of you on this show that have called in the Late Night Vision Show, I want to recognize Michaela, who is your office manager, who does a wonderful job. I think the customers call because they want to talk to her. They don't really want to talk to you anymore.
I think that's true.
They want to talk to Michaela.
We should do this at the front end of the show.
I know.
She deserves more credit than
she
this.
does. She does.
Yeah, Michaela is a wonderful asset to this business.
Yes.
And, I tell you what, Hans is very valuable to me for all of his knowledge and, all of his hog and coyote hunting abilities and all the things that he does, and he helps me a lot. But if I had to trade him or Michaela,
I know which one I'd choose. It wouldn't be me.
Yeah, Michaela is a very sweet young lady.
So if y'all call Outdoor Legacy Gear 877-350-1818, let her know that you heard about her on the Late Night Vision Show podcast. She is a sweet girl. And she knows her stuff, and she
runs this business like a well-oiled machine.
It would fall apart.
Well, let me tell you something. When the days that she's out, it falls apart.
It does.
And
we are scrambling.
It's a mess. I'll just say that. So yeah, she deserves a lot of credit, and we're very blessed to have her on our team.
So we're going to have to tell her to listen to the end of the show. So
that's right.
If she does listen, it's probably the first 5 minutes of every show, and then
it's not the last 5. That's right.
She does a lot. So thank you, Michaela, for everything you do. You're the greatest. You're the best. So all that said,
absolutely. You
can find the Late Night Vision Show on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook. You can find Outdoor Legacy Gear on Facebook, Instagram, outdoorlegacygear.com. Hansi's Texas YouTube channel. That's Hans ETX on YouTube and on Instagram. Like I said, I'm releasing my favorite thermal monocular review of 2019 this week. And in a couple weeks, I will be putting out compilation videos. I do this every year. Best hog kills and best coyote drops of 2019. It's going to be 2 separate videos. I've got so many coyote drops, Jason, I've got to put it into another video separately. So I'm excited about that. But those 2 videos will be coming out by the end of the year. Thank you all for joining us this week. This has been, did we even say episode 84?
Yeah, it's 84.
84. So next week, tune in next week for episode 85. We have no idea what we're going to be talking about, but it's going to be awesome. Trust me. Y'all take care. Have a great night. Thank you for watching. Keep making them bacon pancakes. Stay safe in the fields. All that great stuff. See y'all next week.